Good morning, everyone. I'm John O'Loughlin, and welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff_2020. And thank you very much for everyone being here and for telling your friends about our new channel here on YouTube. It's how we carry on. It's where we are, what we're doing, and how we can continue sharing the truth, our analysis, our thoughts, and our conversations, as well as the many great books that we have at hand here to share with you. And so here we are at McDuff_2020, a backup channel that we made back in June when we got hit with a YouTube strike. So it's been a very strange relationship with the YouTube gurus, or whoever they are up there in Guru Tower, YouTube Tower. You know, they must be way up in the sky, kind of close to heaven, you know. And I imagine them up there with their super computers, and they have these big brains, you know, with the big lobes that come out, and, you know, because they're smarter than the rest of us, so they really don't have to communicate with us. They just tell us what we're supposed to do. You know, isn't it something? I was just looking up over my shoulder at the bookshelf, and the one that stood out at me is this one. Oops! Hang on there, Bluebird. Don't fall. Oh no! All right, this one. when Britain burned the White House, well, that was back in 1814. A story I've told on the channel early on with George, when George and I were cruising around the Potomac, visiting the forts, Fort Foote, Fort Washington, and the beautiful St. Thomas Manor, where you can look and see so much of the river where the ships came up from the British fleet and where they sailed back down again, towing their prizes that they took from Alexandria, the 23 ships I think they grabbed. Anyway, back to today. This is it. There is not another chance. This is the show. This is our time. This is the invasion of the United States, just like in 1812, only without the ships and sailors. It's an electronic invasion by and large, and an invasion that has been prepared by thousands and thousands of sleeper agents brought into this country. And they're going to make sure that their man gets seated in the White House. This is their big play. This is like the Germans outside of Moscow. You know, they're not going to stop. We're going to have to stop them. And we're going to have to be stubborn. As was said in one of my favorite war movies, Gettysburg. We're just going to have to be stubborn. And for that reason, I applaud everyone who is going online. If you have any type of a constituency at all, if you've got a show of any sort, then spread the word that this is it. You know, between now and January 20th, we will know whether this republic will survive or lie dead in the dustbin of history. And I'll tell you something, you know, people who have been sticking their necks out, trying to tell the truth, trying to get the American folks that we depend upon to be with us, to understand what's going on and not rely on the media to tell them. This is not easy. It takes a lot of people. But, if we stick our heads out, then they will chop them off. Give them a chance. I don't think the rumors about guillotines are false. I think they've got them. I think they're hidden. Just my opinion. I'm probably wrong, but that's the way I'm looking at it right now, because if we lose this, we're going to lose our heads, literally. I don't see any better way to put it than that. You've seen, I'm sure, these people that are taking names, this person's a Trump supporter, put him on the list. That's the Phoenix program. These are not amateurs. These are not kids goofing around saying I'm putting up I make a list of my enemies just for spite. No. This is real. All right, I'm not going to get into the War of 1812 with you, Thomas, but it's fun. It's a great historical study, and relevant to today because it is the British. It's the Christopher Simpson. It's the fake PP dossier. It's the City of London. It's the Rothschild banking system that supports the City of London, and the royalty, the nobility of Europe speaks through the World Economic Forum, the WEF. Yes, Klaus Schwab is his name, and he seems to be the spokesperson for all these noble families that still claim that they are God's chosen rulers over the rest of us. It's the American Revolution all over again. They think they can clamp down on our freedoms, lock us up, house arrest. You see, if Biden wins, we're looking at house arrest. And once they got us locked down for COVID, you don't think they're going to take advantage of the opportunity to come around and pick up all those firearms that they think we're not entitled to? So it's time to reach out to your neighbors and get organized and have a plan. And not just a survival plan, I'm not going to be a survivalist and live in a bunker for 2 years like some of these folks are planning to do. No, if they take my freedom from me, they'll take it from my cold, dead hand. They will take me down, Jacqueline. They've taken me down before. They'll take me down again, and I'll come back again, because I'm not stopping. I'm an American. I have American blood in my veins. I have grown up in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I'm not moving. But I'll tell you one thing. We have to win this. So, my topic today is the New York Times. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole history of the New York Times, and I'm not going to try to, talk to you about how it's been the mouthpiece of Wall Street from the get-go, and they have these, nice arts and entertainment sections, and they give you all the opinions, like Paul Krugman, he'll tell you how great it is to keep borrowing money. Well, now they're coming out with new restrictions, right? They didn't get their slam dunk on election day like they thought they would. They ran into 71 million obstacles. And I'm so proud of all of the obstacles. Everybody that throws a a monkey wrench in the plans of this horrific imperial juggernaut that thinks it can just grab our freedoms and throw them in the trash. Yeah, I am angry. I've been angry, since we started the McDuff Fall Offensive. And yeah, we took a hit. We lost 906 or 7 videos. We lost all the books I read. We lost all of the Mindfields. We lost all of the George Webb, McDuff and Webb shows going back 2 years. We lost the road trips. We lost all of that stuff. But you know what? If we win this election, I think YouTube's going to put it back up. I think they will. And if they don't, then we're going to talk. And we're going to talk in the courthouse. But I'm not going to go there right now. I'm just going to keep on with new channels. Maybe I'll have to go to some other thing like Periscope or something. But I'm not changing right now. I'm doing my thing. I'm expressing my freedom of speech right here on the broadest reach that I can, and that is, for better or worse, YouTube. All right, let's look at this New York Times today. All right. Funny, there's a big ad up the top for Charles Schwab, and it has, of course, your symbol up in the upper left. You see the little pyramids, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts of. So but then there's a cube, and you know what the cube stands for? 666, right? Well, if you don't know, you can look it up. And once you see it, you see it. It's like, oh, okay, that's just another way to say 666. So it's a message. It's a message. Okay? We didn't fit the mold, so we broke it. Does that mean that the other Schwab is getting ready to break something too? Own your tomorrow. Charles Schwab. All right, so that's propaganda, right? Now we get to the real propaganda, the New York Times. Republicans shy from telling Trump that it's time to concede. Oh. They are not listening to the New York Times. New York Times has already announced that it's time to concede, you guys, and you are just not getting the message, are you? On the other hand, we do have some rhino Republicans, some of these people that are really deep state agents that have been planted there to control what they can on the side of conservatism. And I'm glad to see McConnell supporting the president. I don't have much positive to say about McConnell, except for at least he's not a Democrat. And I'm talking about, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat all my life. I suppose today might be my walk away day, because I am so disgusted with the leadership of the Democratic Party, which obviously is taking its orders from somewhere else. You remember seeing John Podesta over there in the Vatican, And so many Catholic connections and Knights of Malta. Anyway, this is the time of our lives to protect what our ancestors have been able to pass on to us. So what do I like out of the New York Times? Well, very little. But I do like the financial reporting. It is right there at Wall Street, and this is their business, is protecting the great corporations of Wall Street. Paul Krugman today says, what's not the matter with Georgia? Well, Theodore McCarrick's human sacrifices. That's gross. You know, McCarrick, he was that creepy cardinal. One of them. Hell hath no fury like a trump scorned. Well, poor Gail Collins is. But the difference is that if we win, we're not going to persecute people. But you can bet that they're going to persecute people if they win. And people are going to disappear. And the number of outlets for news will shrink. And of course, what I think is really horrific is that they are going to take away the American currency and turn it into some type of worldwide currency like they did to Europe when they made the euro. No, have you ever heard people complain in Europe about the euro? Well, it was terrible for small businesses. It was awful. You know, because what can you do if cheaper stuff comes from low wage countries? Then you have to close up your shop because you can't compete. And that's what all of this free trade is about. George Webb and I have been talking about free trade for 2 years, and remember sailors' rights and free trade from the War of 1812 we were talking about a minute ago. Sailors' rights and free trade. Free trade and sailors' rights was a big flag that was flown on the ship of Captain or Commodore Porter when he went out to challenge the British frigates to a battle. And that's psychological warfare of the kind that I like, where you say, sailors' rights, because the British are all about no rights for sailors. Sailors are serfs. Sailors are slaves. Sailors are subject to beating, to whipping, flogging, and death under the lash of the officers of the British Navy and impressment. So that's propaganda, where you say sailors' rights, but then also you say free trade. Well, free trade's not good for a growing country. You need to protect your industries and let them grow, as Alexander Hamilton said. But it was the elites of New England that wanted the free trade because then they could, keep on at very, very low cost importing things of value. Well, I do watch the business section every day. I'm not an investor. I have only a small pension of my own, but it's tied to the stock market. But I'm not somebody that switches around every day. But let's just look at the market overview today. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so this is the current U.S. market index chart today, November 10th, 2020. And as I was pointing out last night, you can see over on the, this is 1 month, okay? So 0 over at the left is 1 month ago. And it went way down during the election. And then when newspapers and the AP announced that, we have a winner, Biden has won, then Zoom, right at the end there, it went straight up overnight, 4 entire percent. But then yesterday afternoon, I looked at it and I noticed, hey, it's going down now. And what that is as I understand from my reading, is a reflection of their desire to have Biden come in, because if Biden comes in, he's going to lock us down. And if he locks us down, then people like Pelosi and McConnell and all, they're all going to have to give us a stimulus. And if they give us a stimulus, wow, did they get a stimulus. I mean, can you imagine how happy, the people that got the last stimulus, millions and millions and millions of dollars going to these corporations and also to law firms. I know some law firms that are getting $500,000. For what? You think legal business dried up just because of COVID? I don't think so. But that's just a small example of the giveaways of incredible amounts of money. Supposedly money that our economy can somehow handle, can somehow pay back, can somehow pay the interest on all of this. So you see what happened was when Russia, China, some other places, and some senators said, no, we're not accepting your offer to take the presidency by decree of the press. And people have stood up and said, no, you're not going to steamroll us. We're going to have a count. We're going to have the litigation. We're going to get into the weeds here and sort this thing out. And then the stock market went back down again. Why? Because they're just wanting that money. They just want that extra $100 million, or probably get another $2 trillion, don't you think? And I could get 1,200 and you could get 1,200, but that's because we're little guys. But the big guys, they're going to get, $1 billion here, $1 billion there. And they're salivating over it. That's what I was trying to sort out last week, was how is it that the stock market stays high when nobody's working and everything is shutting down? How does that happen? It's a good question. I look forward to talking. Hopefully I'll be able to get a word or two in the panel this afternoon, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, on LaRouche Pack. LaRouchePack.com is having one of their press events, and they invited me to join them, so I'll be there. Harley Schlanger and Barbara Boyd and the rest of the gang there, Dennis Speed. I'm looking forward to it. Mostly, I think we just need to sit back and let the process work itself out. I don't think there's any doubt that the American people are going to win this. But I do think that we have to be very, very active in talking to folks and saying, look, we have a procedure here. This is not a question of, is Donald Trump a dictator and how he is going to take over if he loses the election. No, that's their stupid propaganda line, the British propaganda. Donald Trump is going to have a hissy fit and won't leave the White House. No, it's another case of you always accuse the opponent of what you're going to do. If you're a Machiavellian, like these strategists that work for the big banks. Machiavellian. So that's what they do. They beat you over the head with your own principles. But we have stronger principles. We have the Constitution, and we also have separation of powers. The separation of powers is a very, very great thing that we have. The only power that we don't have that is responsible to anyone, unfortunately, is the press. So I don't think we need to censor the press. I just think that we need to uh, take the regulators off. That we can't have people saying things like, well, like what I say. Stop censoring everybody. I can look back at my studies of the American Revolution now and keep people like Kay Griggs and James Perloff's work in mind and say, you know what, I really am starting to see that this was an operation too. And in their case, they created a great system of government with the separation of powers, the Constitution. But the press has been let to tell lies, to be used as a propaganda organ, and only for that. You know, when Jefferson ran against Adams for the presidency in 1800, the newspapers lined up for one or the other, and the propaganda was horrible. And what it was, guys, was hair pulling. It was these guys setting the boundaries of the Hegelian dialectic of the day. And even though Hegel hadn't written his theory yet, what it was the same thing. You set up two posts. It's the two pillars, the two pillars of Freemasonry, the Joachim and Boaz, and you put these two pillars up there, and it's like a magnets. The two opposite magnets attract all the other little pieces to themselves, and that, while you don't have overt control over everybody, and everybody has the sense that they are powerful because they have sustained themselves against the opponents. It's divide and conquer on a permanent scale, and this two-party system is exactly that. It's the Republicans against the Democrats. And when people say, the elites are just using us, that's true. They are. And I don't defend the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I think that they both are violating George Washington's main hope for the peace of this country, and that was that we would not engage in party factional fighting. But, that was him. And what followed was people that set up and engaged in the school plays and the hair pulling to control us. Which side are you, left or right? Conservative or liberal? Red or blue? That's the Manichaean thing, too. You're either good or evil, right? Well, we're good, so they must be evil. Gott mit uns. God's with us. So who can be with them? No, I don't. I have two questions for people that have been studying this for a long time. Number one, is there any national publication that you follow that you believe is trustworthy? Any, your hometown paper or the BBC or anything. And number two, can you name a senator or congressman, a member of Congress, whose word you would trust? And so I think in contemplating those questions, I've given you my two main issues for the future. Is we've got to expand people's access to information through publications, online and written, and in libraries and in schools and everywhere. We've got to expand people's access to different opinions, different ways of looking at life. And number two, we've got to get rid of these slugs that are sliming around Congress with their hip pockets full of phone calls they've got to make to hit somebody up for money. And then their aides come up and tell them which way to vote on this or that. This Congress ain't working right. It ain't working right. It ain't been working right a long time. But now, this is the time we have to fix things. We have to set things right for the next generation. Let me check with the chat room. Yep, Smith Munt has got to go. Norman, I agree. And don't tread on me has got to be the watchword. Don't come after me with your needle, Mr. Gates. That would not be good for you. Norm, I trust George Webb too. That's a good answer. Fern, you trust EIR. I love what I've been seeing at EIR. I'm not familiar enough yet to say I absolutely trust them. Wow. Everybody's coming back with LaRouche. That's good. I'm delighted because I think that with the depth of their work that it gives so much credibility. You know, these folks have been doing this for 40 years now. I've been doing my own research maybe for 6 or 7. And, you know, with all the books I've read, I still don't feel like I have done enough. Citizen journalist. Oh, yeah, the salaries, man, that's right. Oh, they make so much money. And like Rachel Maddow, I think she made like $16 million last year. Why? Because she does what they tell her to. It's all limited hangouts. It's all limited hangouts. It's all, you know, I will tell you, you know, a lot of true stuff, some of which you may not know yet, but I'm going to lead you down the primrose path into believing something that's absolutely false. And then you will lose your credibility. That's what the trolls are there for, is to get you engaged in some nonsense so that you lose your credibility. No, George and Jane, George is talking about the same Belt and Road that LaRouche is, and we use it in a kind of a broad way. I would even say it's okay to say the Silk Road. What I see, what I've come to understand is that this is the British banking system has been fighting for hundreds of years to control the economy of Europe and now also Asia. And Asia, of course, China and the opium trade has been there opening opium into the world, into our veins, into our minds, and into our children for their sustenance and profit. Well, now the great dream of a railroad across Asia is turning into a reality. And who's controlling it? Well, I think that's the answer is that this has been secretly put together by the elites. And thanks to Mark Kulak and Housatonic Live for illuminating the role of Warren Buffett in this. Because he's the guy behind Bill Gates, and he also grew up there in Omaha with the Kiewits. And the idea that he would sell out the United States in favor of owning a huge portion of this new Belt and Road is pretty easy because he's just a capitalist. He's not necessarily a patriot. So what can we do other than just keep on doing it? I'm going to keep on starting new channels. If they knock this one out, I'll be back. The press is controlled from left to right. Anything that has a circulation above, say, 50,000, or even smaller than that now, even local county papers, they are insinuated into our newspapers and magazines and everything, our television, of course, to the point where we can't trust any of them. We have to do our own research, and we have to create networks. I say one last thing about networks. I've checked out Ali Alexander. Have you guys looked into Ali Alexander yet? I suggest you do. I suggest you check him out because he seems to have the organizational skill to do what's needed. He speaks of having 300 people that are working, I guess they're volunteers, but working for him. And then each of them has people working for them. He's creating that type of a network that can field 1 million people on the streets or more. There's 71 million people that have committed themselves to President Trump. That's a lot of people. I do not think that your average left-wing person is anywhere near as committed to their position as we are to ours. I don't think they will show up. And I don't think that they are as organized as we can be. Because, hey, we have truth on our side, and they have to live in shadows and lies. Yeah, ALI, Charles. We need American money. That's one of the other things that I think has to be right on the top of the agenda is no digital currency. Coin some money. The Congress says coin money, mint money. So give us some money to spend. Real money with value, like a silver quarter. I bet if you got some copper pennies in a jar somewhere, they're worth more than a penny at this point. So give us some metal that we can call money, and like we used to have, give us a real U.S. currency, not a world currency. A world currency would kill us. Like I read, I can't remember this man's name, but he was one of the founders of the Rand Corporation, and he said that their job was to reduce the American standard of living to that of the Soviet Union in the 50s. Why? Because they want that free trade. They want that level playing field for everybody, regardless of where you came from, where you grew up, what your standard of living is. They want to lower us all the way down as far as they can get us. And what's going to happen if they create that digital currency and shut down the rest of our industries is that we're going to end up completely flat, broke, dependent upon handouts. That's where they want us. We see it coming. And I don't think they can force this on us. Klaus, go home. World Economic Forum, get out of my country. We don't need you. We don't want you. And we don't like you. Sovereignty, that's right. The Peace of Westphalia. Henry Kissinger said, well, we don't want a Peace of Westphalia anymore. We want endless war. Endless war. That's where the money is. The Peace of Westphalia. Hmm. How to bring the masses up to date? Well, you got to have access to them, you know. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Listen to me. Hear me. I have something important to say. Stand up on a soapbox. If you don't get arrested. We need more soapboxes. All right, guys. I'm going to cut it off here so I can put a little thought into, make some notes, and get ready for the LaRouche Pack event at 1 p.m. Eastern. We have to let people know that you can't trust the New York Times. It is the organ of Wall Street, and Wall Street is the organ of elite money that wants to keep itself elite. As we've explained so many times on this show, the CIA is the arm of Wall Street, and that is why we have to splinter it, cast it to the winds, just like John F. Kennedy said.